Good morning, friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Professor Amol Agase, Director, Fluent English Academy. Friends, today we are going to discuss the life and works of the first and the most important poet and author of English literature, that is Geoffrey Chaucer. So before starting this video, I would like to request all of you kindly subscribe my YouTube channel. If possible, try to share my videos with your friends and students. Kindly press the bell icon and subscribe the channel. Before starting, before discussing the works and the overall contribution of Geoffrey Chaucer to the English literature, first we need to know something about the socio-political background of the age in which he lived. Friends, Chaucer lived under three monarchs. First one is Edward III, Richard II, and third one is Henry IV. And this overall period, Chaucer was born in 1340 and he died in 1400. So this particular period is marked by the Black Death, which is a terrible plague called Black Death. This period also noticed the revolt among the peasants, and one of the most important historical incident of the age is the 100 Years' War. This war was fought between England and France, and the duration of the war is 1337 to 1453. So this was the overall socio-political background of the age. Now we shall discuss some facts about the life of Geoffrey Chaucer or his overall literary career. Geoffrey Chaucer is known as the father of English poetry. This is very important attribute to the Chaucer, that he is called the father of English poetry. In most of the competitive exams of English literature like SAT, NET, GATE, you may have this question, or in PhD entrance examination you may have questions, who is the father of English poetry. So it is Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer, who is the father of English poetry. He is widely considered the greatest English poet of the Middle Age. So this is another important fact about Chaucer, is that he is the greatest English poet of the Middle Age. Another thing about Chaucer is that he was the first poet to be buried in Poets' Corner of Westminster Abbey. So in, I think, one of the NET exams, this question was there. Who is the first poet who was buried in the Poets' Corner of Westminster Abbey? It is Geoffrey Chaucer. He is also called a morning star of Renaissance, and the father of English poetry. This particular phrase, which is used with job or used for Geoffrey Chaucer, is used by John Dryden. This is also important thing. You should remember it. And this is all about Chaucer as a. These are some facts about Chaucer's life. Then we shall just quickly just discuss overall happenings, his entire life, early life of Geoffrey Chaucer. Poet Chaucer was born in 1314 in London, England. Chaucer's father John carried on the family wine business was there. It was the business of his father, wine. Geoffrey Chaucer is believed to have attended the St. Paul's Cathedral School, where he probably first became acquainted with the influential writings of Virgil and Ovid. Okay, so this in 1357, Chaucer became a public servant to Countess Elizabeth of Ulster, the Duke of Clarence' wife. In 1359, the teenage Chaucer went off to fight in the Hundred Years' War in France, and at Ithil he was captured for ransom. King Edward III helped pay 16 pounds of ransom to release Chaucer. After Chaucer's release, he joined the royal service, traveling throughout France, Spain, and Italy on diplomatic missions throughout the early to mid 1360s. For his first service, King Edward granted Chaucer a pension of 20 marks. In 1360, Chaucer married Philippa Wright, a daughter of Sir Page Wright, and marriage conveniently helped further Chaucer's career in English court. By 1368, King Edward III had made Chaucer one of his equals. So this was everything about Chaucer's some moments of his life. Now we shall quickly throw light on major works of Geoffrey Chaucer. Friends, let me know one thing that Chaucer's literary career is divided into three sections: is a French, Italian, and English. So he has written some poems, some literature in French. It is called, means for the sake of understanding, we have divided it into three periods. French period. In French period, we have a very important poem of Chaucer, that is Romancho de Rose. It's based on French work Le Romance de la Rose by Loris and D. Mank. It's very important, just keep in mind. It's an allegorical dream poem written in octosyllabic couplet. It begins with an allegorical dream in which the narrator receives advice from the god of love on gaining his lady's favor. And this particular poem has three fragments A, B, C. Then next work in French period we have of Chaucer, that is the Book of Duchess. It was published in 1369. Chaucer's first published work was the Book of Duchess, actually, a poem of over 1,300 lines. It is an elegy for Blanche, the Duchess of Lancaster, addressed to her widower, the Duke. It is called as the Dream of Chaucer. It's very important. The Book of Duchess is called the Dream of Chaucer. Then in next Italian period, which ranges from 1370 to 1385, we have the poem The House of Fame, which was published in 1382. It is a poem of around 2,000 lines in a dream region from based on Dante's Divine Comedy. So it's very important that all of you should remember the House of Fame is based on Dante's Divine Comedy. It's also allegorical poem written in octosyllabic couplet. It has the description of the temple of Venus. Then another poem which we have in Italian period, that is The Legend of a Good Woman, which was published in 1385. It is based on Boccaccio's Meliboeus. It's a work by Boccaccio. Chaucer introduced the stanza form of iambic pentameter couplets, that is heroic couplet, in Legend of a Good Woman, which is seen for the first time in English. So, as far as all our exams are concerned, this particular line is very important. That heroic couplet is first used in Legend of a Good Woman, and it is used first time in English. It has prologue and 9 legends, and it describes the legend of good woman. It describes 9 famous women of the time. Okay. Then in Italian period, we have a very famous work of Chaucer, that is Troilus and Cressida. It was influenced by Consolation of Philosophy, which Chaucer himself translated into English. So, Consolation of Philosophy is the base of Troilus and Cressida of Chaucer. Chaucer took some of the plot of Troilus from Boccaccio's Philanstro. Chaucer invented rhyme royal, Chaucer stanza, in this poem. So this is another important, that Rhyme royal is a stanza form actually invented by Chaucer. It's a line, it's a stanza of 7 lines, and it is first used in Troilus and Cressida. Remember this. Troilus and Cressida is a narrative poem of 8,000 lines that retells the tragic love story of Troilus and Cressida in the context of Trojan War. So this is the theme of Troilus and Cressida. That it's a tragic love story of Troilus and Cressida in the context of Trojan War. You should remember it. Then we have Annelida and Archite, another work by Chaucer. It tells a story of Annelida, queen of Armenia and Archite. It has some elements of Boccaccio Tacita. Boccaccio Tacita is another work, and it is the source. Boccaccio's Tacita is the source for Annelida and Archite. Then another poem which we have in Italian period, that is Parliament of Falls. His was included Parliament Falls, a poem of 699 lines. This work is a dream idiom for St. Valentine's Day that makes use of a myth that each year on that day the birds gather before the goddess nature to choose the mates. This work was heavily influenced by Boccaccio and Dante. This also you should remember. It was written in 1380 during the marriage negotiation between Richard and Anne of Bohemia. It had been identified as a Pfeffer with Neoplatonic ideas inspired by the likes of poets Cicero and Jean de Monk. You should remember all these things about Chaucer. Then in English period, which starts from 1384 to 1390, one of the most important and the most discussed and widely read and widely discussed book, that is Canterbury Tales, is written in English period of Chaucer. Chaucer wrote the unfinished work, the Canterbury Tales. Remember, students, that this Canterbury Tales is unfinished work of Chaucer. The Canterbury Tales is by far Chaucer's best known and the most acclaimed work. Initially, Chaucer had planned for each of his characters to tell 4 stories. Okay, the first 2 stories would be set as the character was on his or her way to Canterbury, and the second 2 were to take place as the character was heading home. Okay, actually, Chaucer's plan was different, but he could not complete. Apparently, Chaucer's goal was writing 120 stories, was on overly ambitious one. In actually, the Canterbury Tales is made up of only 24 tales. Remember, there are only 24 tales in Canterbury Tales. The tales are fragmented and varied in order, and scholars continue to debate with whether tales were published in their correct order. Okay, so this everything I am going to prepare one separate video on Canterbury Tales. In that video we shall discuss the plot and all this structure and all the summary of all the tales of which are included in Canterbury Tales. Then another work of Chaucer is the a treatise on the astrolabe. A treatise on the astrolabe is one of the Chaucer's prose work. It's a prose work. You may have question in exam like which is the major prose work of Chaucer. So you should remember it's a astrolabe. Okay. So at the end of this video, I would like to add the death of Chaucer. He died on October 25 in 1400 in London, England. And as I told you at the beginning of this video, that he was the first poet to be buried in Westminster Abbey. So it's all about Chaucer and his literary career. I hope that you have liked this video. Kindly go through the video once again if you don't understand, and don't forget to subscribe the channel, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to share. Thank you.